Hello and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be making a Nightwing mask out of EVA foam. This is going to be actually gifted to Philly Rican Cosplay on Instagram. He really likes the Bat Family, Nightwing, and DC Comics just like I do, and he always likes all my Red Hood and Nightwing posts and comments on a lot of my stories. So, just thinking about who I would give this to. Out of all the people that follow me and I know on Instagram, he was the first one that came to mind. Seems like a really decent, solid dude, and a hardworking single father, always working late hours. So, figured, hey, why not give it to him? And for this build, everything is primarily made out of 5mm EVA foam. And without me rambling anymore, let's go ahead and just jump right into the video. Okay, so first thing you're going to want to do is cut out all of your pattern pieces. You're going to need 2 of each one for each side. And anywhere that there is registration marks, I have cut this at a bias, which is to say on an inward angle. Now I didn't actually even use an X-Acto knife for that. I just used a pair of scissors and followed the outside line while cutting at an angle like that. And you'll notice I've also transferred my registration marks. Next thing is I'm going to take contact cement and I'm going to start gluing all of these pieces together. Okay, so as you saw there, I brushed some of the contact cement onto all the areas that need to be bonded. The one place I actually didn't put it yet was where these pieces are going to join together in the center, because I'm going to assemble left side, right side, and then stick the two together for the full mask. However, how contact cement works is you brush some on each side, try to be careful not to blob any, which is a little hard because it is kind of runny. Barge is a little bit more consistent and viscous as opposed to this, but I'm using DAP weldwood contact cement. And you brush it on each surface that you're going to glue together, and then you wait for 15 minutes until the places where you applied it are essentially dry to the touch and no longer tacky. At that point, they're ready to be stuck together. However, keep in mind when you do this that it is an instant bond. You can't take it apart and readjust it. So you have to make sure you have everything lined up. Okay, and now that the two halves have been glued together, the only thing left to do is to apply glue in the center and attach them together like that. Alright, I have both pieces pushed together in the center here after repeating the same process using contact cement. And next is going to be using a heat gun to heat and shape all this. Okay, so what you saw me doing there was basically working on putting this lump here in the center, and as you heat the AVA foam, it will become pliable, and as it cools, it will stay in that shape. Now, it takes a bit of practice sometimes if you haven't done this before to use a heat gun and get your projects to come out looking how you want. Okay, what this is literally the cheapest heat gun I can find. It usually runs around $15 at Harbor Freight. However, it doesn't last very long. But this one somehow has made it a year and a half. So that's $5 every 6 months. So that's actually not bad. If this could make it 2 years, I would make this quite the investment. But it is dual setting. It has a low and a high. I am using it on high. And I let it warm up for a bit, get hot, and then put it right on the area that I want to work on, and then I work on that area. And then you'll probably notice I started moving over to the sides here and working on that a little bit. The idea and the goal is to take the initial shape that is in this and make it better, if that makes any sense. Because you get some of the definition with the way this is cut and by me putting an angle on the cuts where the registration marks are. But I'm going to get a lot better result when I hand shape it and finish it the rest of the way. Alrighty, so I finished heating this gradually a bit at a time. Now, as you're doing this, if you're making this project at home, it's always important to keep in mind that as I am shaping this, I'm also putting it to my face to make sure that, and looking in the mirror to make sure that it is going to fit, and then kind of further heating and adjusting according to that. Now, one thing that I can say to essentially simplify and explain what I did is that I heated both these sides here and then bent them in as much as I desired. And these edges here, I heated them and then curved them this way. And similar thing down here on this piece, put a curve to it. And as well on both of the bottom pieces here, I heated them and curved them so they would match my cheeks, and this would match up with my eyes. Next, what I'm going to do is take a Dremel, and with a medium grit sanding head, I am going to sand this all up and work out a little of my own imperfections from gluing. Alright, I finished with the sanding, and you can see how that's really cleaned up all the areas where I glued everything together, and I also rounded out the top and the bottom and these edges, especially down here, because you can see that a lot more. And same thing on these wingtips here, I kind of rounded it out. It makes it look less obvious that you made it out of foam versus, you know, because when you just cut things with those straight cuts, you can really just kind of, I don't know, it just feels like it's obvious to me, as opposed to when you start to sand and round out the edges and make it look a little bit less homemade. Okay, I've got all of my sanding done now, and I also took and cut out this ovalized piece of 2mm EVA foam and glued this in there just to help keep the nose in place, much like on the Red Hood Outlaw build. I did the same thing to those masks. That way you don't lose the nose shape whenever the elastic is pulling the mask tightly against your face. It'll still keep that nose shape there, hopefully. And now I'm going to move on to applying silicone, because even though it's sanded and some of these areas are smoothed out pretty good, you can see there's some gaps, like right in there. And I want to fill that in and smooth it out so that you can't see it. And like you notice, there's my fingerprint right there. But things like that I just want to cover up. And the easiest way to cover that up is, at least that I found so far, is to use some DAP all-purpose acrylic latex caulk plus silicone. Common name is Alex Plus by DAP. Now you'll see here I got the clear. This is also not a fast dry. They do sell a fast dry, and you can sand that, but this stuff I feel goes on a lot smoother and a lot thinner. It causes me to have to put on repeated applications thin to end up filling in gaps and such, but there's no sanding required, and as long as you smooth it out really well, it turns out really well. And let me see if there's any stuck. Oh yeah, there is. There's some stuck in the tube here. Get that out. So yeah, when it dries, it's not totally clear. Whenever it's like thicker in these thicker areas, you'll notice it's a little bit more opaque, but anywhere that it's thinner, it is pretty clear. But I will be painting this black over top of this, but that gives you an idea what it looks like. And I don't have any of mine. I put mine in the caulking gun, cut off the tip, and then I fill up a Tupperware and put some saran wrap that I folded up on top of it. This seals the air out and makes it last much, much longer. And what I use to smooth this out with is just my finger dipped into some tap water that I have in this container here. Okay, so I start by getting a bit on the tip of my finger, and then I'll just apply that where it's needed. Get a little more. Okay, so I can work it in and smooth it out, as you can see, to a point here. From there, though, I'm going to put my finger in the tap water, get as much of the excess silicone off of it as I can, and then keeping my finger wet, I'm going to use it to smooth this out nice and even. Just like that. And any excess water, you can just drag down the mask. It's just water. It's going to evaporate, essentially, but you don't want it to puddle up anywhere around your piece. Like I say, this is kind of slow using the regular stuff and not the fast dry, but I do think you get a far superior result. That's just my opinion, though. I'm going to do that on repeat until I get all of the seams. Okay, here it is applied fully to both sides, and now I'm just waiting for it to dry, and of course as it dries it will become clear. However, the drying process does usually take a couple hours in between applications. Okay, so I finished putting on the last application of the Alex Plus, just because this one spot right here I wasn't really happy with. So I'm going to give this a few hours to dry the rest of the way. All these other areas are dry except for this here, where it's a little thicker. Then I'm going to go ahead and seal this up with some Mod Podge. You could also use Plastidip if you wish, but I prefer to use this. Okay, so I did 2 layers of Mod Podge to get it to where I liked it, and see if I can get this focused in here. You'll notice that you can kind of see the grain, and I just tried to go all one way with the brush strokes. I get a generous amount on the brush, but then I spread that out very, very thin along the piece here. And yeah. Now I'm going to go ahead and paint it, but I'm just going to paint it black with a brush and some acrylic paint. Okay, it's had 24 hours to dry, so now I'm going to go ahead and attach some elastic so that the recipient can wear it. Okay, so I went ahead and glued on the elastic strap here, and I used regular old super glue to do that, and I got my elastic from this headlamp from Walmart. They're $1. Pick them up in the camping section. However, if you want to buy these online, they're from a company called Ozark Trail. They only come in 10 packs though. That's $10. But one of these is usually only $1 plus tax at Walmart. And I actually get these to mount onto my Nerf blasters so that I have a light that I can flip up and flip down. And as such, I always end up cutting off the elastic. But I like this for both the Red Hood Outlaw and this, just because it has that stripe on it. I think that's pretty cool. I like the gray and the black. So yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap this up. Okay, so that's going to wrap it up for today's video. Hopefully Philly Rican Cosplay enjoys and can find some use for the Nightwing mask. As always, thanks for watching, and if you want to stick around, after this outro, there's actually another segment to the video, but doesn't really pertain to cosplay. It's just something that I did recently for a charity fundraiser that I'm going to be doing about once a month. So if you want, stick around and check that out. Hello everyone, I'm out here today trying to get a trick for a charity called Shove It Cancer. It's a backside no slide shove it out. It's not a hard trick, and it's not anything special, but I've been skateboarding since off and on since 1989, and I don't think I've done any trick close to this or similar to this since 2004. I'm going to try to do it on this sketchy wooden planter thing right here. It's got kind of a weird angled lean, but it's about a foot high, so it's higher than a curb. And I'm going to put links to Shove It Cancer if you'd like to donate. I'm going to try to do this like once a month, and whatever I can, I'm going to donate along with the videos of me learning new Shove It variations or just relearning stuff I haven't done in years. And there, I landed it, but I just wasn't happy. So as you can see, there was a lot of mishaps and failed attempts and smashing my foot and rolling my ankle and whatever else to get the trick once on film decent, and I didn't even put in all the times that I messed up. Just some of them. Keep that in mind. So, yeah, bearing that in mind, that's the kind of effort it took to get something like that. Now, I am older, I'm 40, it's not as easy to do this stuff, say, as when I was 20, so that's a factor. But I guess the point is, and the reason why I actually put this at the end of a cosplay video is because, you know, anything that I do takes a lot of trial and error, and a lot of effort, and a lot of work, and a lot of failure. And I have to learn from that failure. And what taught me that was learning how to ride a skateboard. And then once I learned how to ride it, learning how to do tricks and everything else. But that process of working, failing, picking myself up and trying again until I get it right. You know, a lot of the people ask me questions about how I get my cosplay ideas or how I get this or how I do that. It all comes with a lot of trial and error and a lot of failure and a lot of learning from that failure and then getting better. And that's a never-ending process. That process is, of course, still going on as I'm trying to refine everything I'm doing and improve the processes and everything else. It's just a continual, ongoing, fine-tuning effort. So as always, thank you all for watching. There will be links in the description below to the patterns on Facebook for free. And there's also links to this charity if you would like to donate, or if you'd just like to share the link to the charity and don't have the money or the ability to donate, that's great too, because then other people can see it and it helps raise awareness. So as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.